Welcome to Amaze Me Stays, where we want to make travel magical. And today we are in the beautiful Swiss Alps. And I want to talk to you about overnight experiences in an igloo. I've been lucky enough to stay in many of these snowy locations over the years. And that's why I want to give you the best information so that you can make the right decision about the best place for you to stay. So, we're going to talk about why you should do it, where you should go, which places you should choose, and maybe a few other bits and pieces of information that are going to help you make the right decision. Which overnight experience will you fall in love with? Well, I hope by the end of this video you'll know. So let's go inside and get started.
Choosing the perfect igloo experience can be a daunting task with countless options available online. You've got ice hotels, igloos in the mountains, lakeside igloos, snow castles, igloos with hot tubs, saunas, and snowy accommodation with breathtaking views. But how do you narrow it down? Do you go for the most luxurious option, or do you opt for something more rustic and quaint? The first thing I want to say is all igloos are not equal. So I'd like to talk about the different places I visited and give my thoughts about what made them special. And that might help you make the right choice. There are the famous places like the Ice Hotel in Sweden, but there are other places which are perhaps not so well known, such as the Hotel de Glace in Canada and the Kirkenes Snow Hotel in Norway. And let's not forget other places that are smaller but offer a more unique experience, such as the Lapland Snow Village and the Kemi Snow Castle, which are both in Finland. And if you want something even more rustic, then there are plenty of places that build their own igloos in the forest or by a frozen lake, for those who just want to have a more natural experience, such as a place I visited in Finland called Harriniva. Sometimes it's all about location, such as Iglu-Dorf above Zermatt in the Swiss Alps, overlooking the famous Matterhorn mountain. Then of course there are plenty of glass igloos, which I'd like to leave for another video. These do offer a solution of creating an amazing place to stay, but without the more rustic accommodation. And if you're in any doubt about whether sleeping in an ice structure is the right thing for you, then glass igloos are a good option as well. They're warm, the beds are more traditional, and there's usually toilet facilities en suite or very close by. Some even have their own kitchens, and they all have views of the sky, so you're in a perfect place to see the northern lights if they appear during your stay. So let's talk about the actual overnight experience in more detail. I know you won't believe me until you've experienced it for yourself, but you won't be cold. You'll feel the coolness of the structure, but you will be warm as long as you wear the right gear, which we'll talk about a bit later. And I know that does sound a bit strange, but believe me, it is true. It's incredible to think that the inside temperature of your average snowy structure is around about -5 degrees. And that's whatever the temperature is outside, which I think's amazing. The snow really does insulate the inside of the structure. And although that sounds cold, you will be warm and toasty in your very special thermal sleeping bags. These sleeping bags are amazing, and you're completely cocooned without feeling restricted. In addition, your bed has layers of thermal protection underneath, so it doesn't feel like you're sleeping on a slab of ice. The first time I stayed in an igloo, I was a bit worried about what would happen if my arms or my hands suddenly got outside the sleeping bag in the middle of the night and I was asleep and blissfully unaware of what was happening. And I woke up in the morning to find one arm had got outside the sleeping bag, and I thought, uh-oh. But then I looked and everything was fine and my arm was fine, and yeah, panic over. Remember your hat, or I would say take 2 hats, just in case one gets wet, because during the day, if you're doing activities or if it's snowing, you want to have a dry hat when you're going to bed. And you lose 20% of your body heat through your head, so you need to be wearing a hat. There's also a great atmosphere in these hotels. You'll meet your fellow guests, and I suspect they will be a cosmopolitan bunch, which is always exciting, and shared experiences bring people closer together. So you'll probably end up making some good friends by the time you leave. The food on offer varies from place to place, so do your research. If you're a foodie, there are some lovely menus available which are beautifully presented to celebrate the local produce. However, due to the remote location of other places, you may not have a vast choice, so make sure you understand what's available, especially if you have special food requirements. And remember, warm food will warm you up. Another consideration is that an overnight experience is part of the bigger experience of visiting the winter destination. So look into what activities you would like to do when you're there. Make the most of your time. Are you a full-on adrenaline junkie in search of speed on a snowmobile or the black runs of a ski resort? Maybe you want to focus on wellness of spa and sauna. Perhaps local culture is what you're looking for. Or maybe you're on the hunt for those elusive northern lights. But whatever it is, it makes sense to plan in advance for these extras and get booked up so that you don't miss out. There's a deep peacefulness like no other in a structure made of snow and ice, and it's an incredible experience. So take it all in and savor all the little details because it will be over in a heartbeat. And also you'll sleep well, but as with camping, it's the kind of environment where you will wake up early as well. There's often a warm drink on offer and breakfast is usually included as well, and that's often served in a warm building nearby. So let's talk about the places I've visited and what I liked about each one. The first is the Ice Hotel in Jukkasjarvi in Sweden. This is the first ice hotel and it's still the largest of all the ice hotels. The ice art on display and the detail that goes into everything is incredible. It's impressive and a joy to see. The ice restaurant is actually a warm restaurant where the menu choices are really good. The standard of food is excellent. And there are also many activities to experience, so you'll be spoilt for choice. But you must book early as this place does get busy. And check on the duration of your activities as well, because sometimes you're not doing those for as long if it's quite busy. So you just want to make sure you understand how long you're actually going to get for the amount of money that you're paying. Next up is the Hotel de Glace in Quebec in Canada. I did like this place. I thought it had exactly the right combination of the size, the effort that's gone into creating it, but with some fun elements as well that just made everything a lot more memorable. There was an ice staircase with a slide that was particularly good. And there were a lot more adults clambering to go up there than children, I remember. And there are various ice bars and one even had a fire in it. Now that does mess with your head a bit because seeing a fire roaring in a room made of ice was, quite unusual. And new for this season, they have an ice restaurant in their place as well, and that's serving a Nordic-inspired menu. Also nearby, they have a snow park, and you can go ice rafting and snow tubing there, which are great things to do, especially if you don't need any experience. And each slope is graded, just like a ski run. So you've got easy blues, you've got challenging reds, and then you've also got leave your brain at the top black runs. One I remember was called Himalaya, and it was fantastic. I think it's the closest experience to skiing down steep slopes. And the tubes spin around as you're going down as well, just to add a bit more drama to the whole thing. It was great. Next up is the Lapland Snow Village in Finland. This snow village, although small, is perfectly formed with 20 million kilos of snow and 300 kilos of natural ice. And this year the theme is the underwater world. There's an ice bar, an ice slide, a disco, a stunning ice restaurant, and new for this year is a glass restaurant as well. I like this place as it does everything that the larger places do, but on a slightly smaller scale, so it does feel a lot more intimate. The accommodation this year is maybe slightly different, so I'd look into that, but there are other options nearby, so you might be able to go there for the day and then go to some other accommodation afterwards. Next place I'm going to talk about is the Kemi Snow Castle. This is situated in Kemi and it's on the shores of the Bothnian Sea. And this sea freezes over in the winter, so it looks really dramatic. I like the way the building looks as good from the outside as it does from the inside. And the frosty fortress really looks like a castle. And then when you go inside, you can enjoy all the art and the sculptures, that are created every year. You can check into ice rooms in the castle as well for the full experience. And for a completely unique activity, then it's all aboard the icebreaker boat and watch it break through the ice as you set off onto the frozen sea. Then after lunch, you can get into a special thermal dry suit, waddle down the gangplank and swim in the sea. Yeah, swim in a frozen sea. It is amazing. I didn't know if I would like this activity, but I just thought it was fantastic, and it was a really unique experience to do in that particular location. Next, I want to tell you about the Snow Hotel in Kirkenes in Norway. This is the only snow hotel that actually stays standing for 365 days of the year. And again, you can enjoy the ice sculptures and the unique design of the rooms. In addition, there is a sauna so you can get warmed up after a day's activities. And there's also a husky farm and a reindeer farm very nearby, so you can do husky rides or reindeer rides there as well. The restaurant celebrates the beautiful local produce on offer, and you must try the king crab. And for another activity, you can also do king crab fishing. And again, you can't do that everywhere. So if you are interested in that and you do want to see what that's like, then this place would be definitely the place to go and try it. Next is the Snow Igloo in Harriniva in Finland. For some people, the more rustic the better when it comes to igloo experiences. They want it pared back to get the full experience. So if you want to keep it really simple, there are hotels in rural areas with basic igloo accommodation that you can book when you're actually staying in the hotel room or cabin. One such place is Harriniva in Finland, and this year they are building an ice restaurant for their guests to experience as well. This hotel has been in the same family for over 50 years, and the activities are something else. They have their own huskies, and the safaris are incredible. You learn about the dogs, you learn about how they are handled. You really come away having a greater and deeper insight into the whole thing. Plus, the snowmobile safaris over the hills, across frozen lakes, and through snow-covered forests are fabulous. And you can also get an al fresco lunch outside as you're on your safari as well. The whole thing is just outstanding. And finally, I wanted to talk about Iglu-Dorf, which is in Zermatt in Switzerland. I visited this place with my husband and loved the whole experience. The structure was tasteful and welcoming, and the view of the Matterhorn was absolutely stunning. Because we were at such a high altitude, the facilities were basic, but that didn't matter. The whole experience was 5-star. It was just brilliant. We had a delicious cheese fondue to warm us up, the coldest champagne I have ever tasted, and the views of the Matterhorn, well, all I can say is wow. There was also a hot tub outside which overlooked the Matterhorn, and that was incredible as well. I still smile as I think about that surreal feeling of looking out over such harsh conditions from the comfort of a hot tub. Then the next morning would give us the most unique experience of skiing down the mountain before anyone else was on it, and then stopping every so often to pinch ourselves and look at the Matterhorn. It was priceless. And now for some tips about getting the most from your igloo experience. Research, research, research. Okay, research the locations and the facilities. Where are the toilets in relation to your room? Some places have warm areas where you can go, others don't. So just be aware of everything so that you're prepared. Read about what clothing and footwear are provided or what you need to bring with you in order to get the most from your experience. I've also included a list of basic things I would take in the description below, so please check that out. Also understand what time you can check into your room. Often in larger places, the rooms are open to the public during the day, so it may be much later in the evening when you can actually get into your room and get access. Make sure you understand where the restaurant is and what kind of restaurant it is. Some places don't have their own restaurant, and others have a restaurant that is an ordinary warm building nearby. So don't assume that they all have restaurants made of ice and snow. And if that's important to you, make sure you book a place that has that kind of restaurant. Find out if there are any activities you can do when you are there, because depending on the size of the place, The tour around it may not take very long, and you want to be occupied when you're there. Make sure you book at a time when you will be guaranteed that the igloo is still fully open. These ice structures only last one winter, and then as soon as the weather warms up, the building is demolished to be rebuilt the following winter. And that's part of the charm. Another piece of advice is only book snowy accommodation for one night of your total trip. After all, this is an experience, and once you've discovered what it's like to overnight in an igloo, you aren't going to gain anything more from another night or two under the snow and ice in the same location. So if the Northern Lights are important to you, then find out what experiences are on offer to maximise your chances of seeing them. And try to avoid visiting at the time of a full moon. And what did I learn from my igloo experience? I left my igloo experience having dispelled many myths and preconceived ideas that even I, as a snow junkie, had harboured. My night in an igloo was one of the most unusual places that I have ever stayed, and worth every penny. I wasn't just paying for a bed for the night. It was the whole experience of my stay that made it so special. Each snowy place offers something different, so you can visit several and get a unique experience each time. Thanks for watching, and I'd really love to know which igloo experience you'd love to try. So let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to click on the subscribe button for more travel content. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.